Good morning. Merry Christmas, everyone. We can say Merry Christmas now, can't we? So there. Our Christmas was given back to us. Whatever. So, why am I sitting here at 5 in the morning talking to you today on Christmas morning when I should be opening up my packages and doing all of that other kind of stuff that one does on Christmas morning? Because I'm here rather than in Minnesota, and I'm playing with pens. What am I sharing with you today? Well, I'm sharing with you, how about this box? These pens I had pulled out of various drawers where they were misplaced, or sometimes when I need to clear a table, I'll just grab everything that's on my desk, put it in a box. Sometimes they get sorted out again. Sometimes they get tossed in a box and in a drawer, and I think that's what happened with these. I mentioned this one recently because I found its mate without the engraving on the clip. So the one that I found that I thought maybe I want to keep, I don't have to keep anymore. So I can, if I ever find that pen again, I'll be able to say, oh. And if I remember that I found this pen and that it's green, I'll be able to say, okay, I can sell that other pen. It's difficult being me because I've got way too many pens and my mind is way too wishy-washy. So that's the problem. But this pen, let's pretend I never wrote with this pen before. A really fine nib. What's wrong with it? Jeff Berliner would always come to my table to look at pens that I had for sale, and he'd pick up a pen and just ask me flat out what's wrong with it. It's not that he was too lazy to open his eyes and look, but he was on a mission, and he probably knew, based on the pens I sell, that the pens I sell are not perfectly mint because they have ink in them and they're ready to go. So if Jeff Berliner picked up this pen and asked me what's wrong with it, I'd have to point out, yes, it has initials engraved on the clip. It has a little bit of plating wear right there. Why it's right there, I do not quite know. Sometimes you see it reverse of where the clip is because it fits in your pocket, but it might be because the person's hand rubbed right there when they were, that's probably why. That's the part that makes contact. So Jeff, it has that problem, and it has a little bit of pitting there on the lever. By the time I got done with maybe the first thing, he'd throw it back. He would put it back down and then pick up another one and say, what's wrong with this one? So what's wrong with this pen? From my point of view, nothing's wrong with it. It has a very, very fine nib. Does this nib make me sing? It really doesn't. And why doesn't it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in this kind of mood today. Maybe, thank you, Jeff Berliner, all I see is those little pitting marks now. And they bother me today because it's Christmas. And I don't feel charitable. Is that it? Am I bah humbugging it today because I can? Plating wear normally doesn't bother me. Pitting kind of does. Because this seems more like a flaw in its manufacture rather than out of use. So it's funny what I allow and what I don't allow. So here's the question for you, and you and you and you. No, it's a question for me. Where do I put this pen? Do I put this in my Schaefer drawer? Do I put it in the drawer that has engravings and names on the pen? Excuse me. I think I may put it on that in that drawer, because normally, pardon me, let me get my, that's Christmas Eve phlegm. That's yesterday's phlegm. That's not today's phlegm in my mouth. Normally, names are not, or initials are not engraved on the clip. So this is relatively special. Isn't that special? It's not unique, and it certainly isn't relatively unique, but it is special. So this will go in that drawer. Will I remember to put it there? Is it out of ink? Yes, it's out of ink. Someday I may put a nib that makes me smile more than this one is doing. This is a lifetime nib, so it's not very flexible. I mean, this particular one is not very flexible. This pen looks like it should have a more graceful nib in it. And this nib seems a little harsh. Gotcha? Got it? Okay, what about this one? Arthur D. Stone. Not to be confused with Arthur Stone. Arthur D. Stone, his middle initial is important to him. So there. These pens are really, really cool, but they so often don't line up. You screw it on, and the top of the lever is a little bit offset from the top of the nib. So you try to rethread it, and it doesn't work. But if you had maybe 20 of these pens and took all the barrels off the sections and screwed them on, you might find 3 that work within 5 degrees of true. What about this nib? Let's just talk. I like the engraving. This is one of these nibs. It's going to be firm. It's going to be, maybe it might have just a slight flex to it. I remember the first time I saw these pens, this conical nib, the Triumph nib that Schaefer made. I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. And if I really, really try to de-jadify my brain and look at this, I can almost have that first feeling that I had when first ever I saw this nib. Arthur D. Stone. Okay, so that's going to go in with my engraving, pen engraved. This one, this little red pen. Let's see what kind of nib this is. This is another lifetime nib, so chances are it's going to be firm. Chances are almost every Schaefer nib is going to have firmness in its middle name. Again, these nibs are not singing to me today. It's Christmas. I wanted them to be fancier. Yes, this is kind of red. Look. Red and green. It's Christmas time in the city. This should screw down a little tiny bit more. There's a little line right there. Now, why is that not doing that? I'm not worried about it. I may have, this cap, there may have been a different cap on this pen, because I see a little line that implies that the cap sat a little further down, and I may have switched the cap because the other cap was missing, or the threads were broken, or there was a chip out of it, or who knows why. But this one works. It just doesn't fit the same way that its original cap fit. Okay, where's this pen going to go? This is going to go, it's red. Sometimes I put pens that are red on my desk, and I use it for red ink. But I have too many pens on my desk that are red for that purpose, so it's going to go in a drawer. And I might have another one of these, so I might sell it. Okay, Schaefer drawer. Okay, most of these pens are going to be Schaefers just because I was in a Schaefer mood that day. Here's another little bit where that area right there is, only that area there is has plating wear on it. And that's where, again, it fit in the hand of the owner right there. It hits right there. So Jeff Berliner, I'd say it has plating wear. And he'd say, next. This pen was $10 when it was made. It says 1,000 right there, which was the number of pennies you needed. I think this pen, if I remember correctly, is this really, really fine? Yes. This used to be on my drawing desk because it's so fine, but it has a little bit of flexibility to it. Is it a lifetime nib? It is. So this is the kind of nib that I wish those other pens had. And Jeff Berliner, I'd have to point out that little bend right there on that lever, which happened probably when the sack was hard and clogged or petrified or whatever, hardened with age, and someone tried to pull that up and maybe bent it. So this is going to go on my desk where it came from. Oh dear, this one has a name on it. What is this name? Brown. Beautiful script lettering, Schaefer flat top pen, and I have placed in it, or it had in it originally, a nib that is a lifetime nib that is very, very firm, strong, but if you press down, you get some nice flexibility out of it. So this is a really fun one to draw with. But I'm going to put it in with my Schaefers. I'm just looking at all the teeth marks. There's also a crack right there. I can see it going. Let's see. Sometimes these plastics have, they're made of material that has a half-life to it or something, and sometimes they get rather transparent and then they start to crumble or crack, and that's what's happened here. So at some point this is going to break off, but I'll be long dead by the time that happens. Nice nib though. So where's that going to go? That's going to go in the drawer. No, it'll go in the drawer. This has a name on it though, but it's not cool enough. This is a funny pen. This is a lady's pen, but a butch lady owned this one. This is not the standard size for a ring top. This is a senior size. Senior meaning man, not meaning old people. This pen, they would call them seniors and juniors, and that's a man. But this has a ring top, which means this is a dame. So this belonged to a battle axe, and the nib is perfectly battle axey. She said things loudly at the bridge club. You never wanted to be her partner at bridge. She would let you know just how you should have played or what you should have bid. She'd say something like, Mary, how many times do I have to tell you, never finesse? You don't understand how finessing works. You never will. When I jump a bid, it means you have to reply. You have to, how many times do I have to tell you this, Mary? That's what she's like. And she perspires a lot. She holds this in her hand when she's the dummy, and all of her sweat has caused all of the plating wear to come off of this lever box. She just holds it like this. She doesn't hold it there. She holds it right there. Urgh. She is one mean lady. Where is this going to go? I have a drawer full of ladies' pens. See, now here's another lady, except this too is still long. This is a longer ladies' pen. Ladies were supposed, back in these days, ladies were supposed to be demure, not butch. They were not to wear the pants in the family. Why is this unscrewed a little bit? So anyway, these are kind of siblings. I don't know where they're going to go. They're going to go in the ladies' pens box, I think, wherever that is. Schaefer. This is a Schaefer Junior, or whatever they call this one. This might not even be. This might be before. Is this a secretary pen, I wonder? These vertical lines were often used on a particular pen that they called a secretary pen. Why, I don't quite know. This has a slight flexible nib to it. What am I going to have to look at my loop to see what it says? Here's my loop. Lady lifetime. Well, pardon me. This is not supposed to have that cap. I don't think. It's supposed to have a ring top. Lady lifetime. Now imagine any lady could go into the pen shop and ask for one that has a clip, because it does seem to be matching the way the fading works and everything. Lady lifetime. Huh. So I'll put these with the ladies' pens because I can. This pen, I'm not even going to talk about this pen. What will I say? Talk about this pen? What's wrong with it? Here I'm sounding like Jeff Berliner. What's wrong with this pen? This is too modern for my taste, but somehow it was in a drawer, so I may put it with the Schaefers just because. I did kind of like these clips that they came up with late in their, well, late for me, little spring-loaded clips. This is a pen that I got from a pen collector, a friend of mine, who brought me a whole pile of pens, and she said, I want to trade these for some new pens. And we ended up sort of just trading one for one. This pen was equal to a pen that was almost identical to it, but she just wanted to try out a new nib. And this pen, she got this pen from my friend Rob Morrison on eBay, I think, or at a pen show, or from his website or something. And Rob Morrison called this pattern changing lanes, which I think is a nice way to describe it. It has a pattern of engraving on the barrel that kind of zigzags a little bit with a straight. It goes down and over and up and over. So it's not a Greek key, it's not sort of zigzaggy, it's changing lanes was a perfect way to describe it. It has a number 2, I think, Schaefer nib. It's a little scratchy, but it has a really nice spring to it. So I was happy to get this. Its scratchiness might be due to the fact that I haven't, the nib has to be reset. So this used to be on my drawing table, mainly because I hadn't played with it enough because it was new to me. But I think I'm going to put it with the Schaefer pens. So where's that pile? Right there. That's it for Schaefers. I don't expect that you learned anything. I don't think I imparted any actual information. Let's try this box. These are Waterman pens that were also from, at some point, they managed to be put in a drawer. And this is this is probably what happens. I was fixing these or trying them out or whatever, and they were on my desk, and I had to move everything, and I put them in a box, and then I put them in a drawer, and then I forgot that they were there until yesterday when I was looking for something, and there they were. 50 fountain pens that I completely forgot about. And so what I did yesterday is sort them out by brand. That's why we were looking at just... See, I hate when that happens. These Waterman pens of this era, when you actually can take them apart and you don't glue them together, or however whatever magic kept them together, they might have shellacked the section into the barrel. But I found more of these Taper-Rite pens, which I have an affinity for. I don't want to talk about these. You're done for me. I want to talk about these 3. I took them out and just played with them, and they were really fun. They're all Watermans. This one goes here. This one goes here. And these had really prickly fine nibs. This light is so harsh. It's like an autopsy table. I'm really sorry about that, but this nib is really, really fun. It's not horribly flexible, but when you apply more pressure than you think you should, it will give in. I hate that noise. It's almost identical to the sound of a piece of iridium flying off. But what this is pieces of hard rubber sack underneath the paper. Really, really sweet nib. And it only does this. It goes from quiet to slightly less quiet. It goes from a whisper to a stage whisper. No, it doesn't even get... If you're not in the first 3 rows, you're not going to hear this whisper. Okay, Jeff. Big chip out of the cap. The clip is bent. There's a tooth mark. Okay. That nib, you shouldn't even have... This could almost be a steaming piece of shit with corn in it. And if it had a nib sticking out, you should just focus on the nib. The nib is really, really cool. This nib is very similar to that one. Come on, ink, dirty water. Let's try it again. Well, ignore the little problems I'm having with spilling and stuff. This is very similar to this nib, except this whispers a little louder. If you're in the 10th row, you'll hear it. And it's a little easier to get. It's a little bit more graceful. This one, can make exquisite figure eights on its ice skates. It's on the ice skating rink. This one makes the same figure eights, but is wearing a nicer skating costume. There's just something a little bit glamorous about this nib that this one doesn't have. This one, I can just tell from here, this must be a 4. I don't even know, I can't see. This one is an accountant nib, or similar. This is like the first one, except less flexible. It whispers. You have to be actually on stage next to the person. You have to be the lover of the actress or actor that's speaking in a whisper to actually the character lover. So he or she, we'll just make it a he. So she says, "Darling, I love you." And no one can hear. Even he has a hard time hearing, but he knows the script. And so he says, "Oh, darling, I love when you say I love you." So he has to repeat every goddamn thing she says so that people can follow the script. You know, if she was walking off stage and tripped on a nail or stepped on a nail or something with her bare feet, she might make a noise big enough for the first row. Finish the sentence, Beer. How difficult can it be? Oh, employee. I love that. I love that. This has to go in with my names on my engravings on pens. So this pen was perhaps given to an employee of the Waterman Company, so they could tot up how many pens they sold, or whatever they do. You know, check off worker 6 in the nib department needs to be euthanized, or whatever, you know, the employee that would use a pen to actually record something would say. oftentimes it'll say something like AT&T, which meant the company gave it to their employees to do their records. But this just says employee, which makes me think that this was once owned by, or used, not owned, but used by an employee of the Waterman Company. Oftentimes, and this might be a marriage, this might be a cap that doesn't belong here originally, oftentimes pens that were marked employee or were purchased by Macy's or AT&T were the plainest things you could ever even consider buying, because they don't need to put a clip on a pen that an employee is using, because the employee is not going to take it home with them. They're going to leave it on their desk. So this is quite interesting. This is also rather late. This clip was later in their scheme of things. It also says made in the United States of America, which I think they started saying after they said made in USA or New York, USA, made in the United States of America. So it makes it sound like we had to be extra patriotic. Could this? Yes, it also has Waterman's is written in that later script with the double lines. So this is a later pen than, where did the other ones go? This one. Waterman Ideal. Does this even say, it does say Ideal. But the script is modern. So this is going to go in with my, see, these are the things, I noticed this when I got the pen maybe originally. And then that brain cell enjoys itself for a little bit, and then it dies. And I have to rewire my brain to appreciate that thing. So that's part of the fun of having pens that you accidentally put in a drawer. And what's wrong with this pen? Another Waterman. This has a really, really springy nib. This one whispers, but you can hear it at the next theater. In the theater next to the one that you're in, watching this actor or actress whisper, listening to her, is doing a loud tap dancing Busby Berkeley production. So it's a lot of racket, but when this person whispers on stage, people in all the rows can hear it in the next theater. I'm missing a clip. Thank you, Jeff Berliner, for pointing that out to me. Really sweet nib. Again, if this were in a steaming even peanut, here's a pile of shit you see on the side of the road, and if this nib is sticking out of it, you would be more than happy. This nib is great. Yes, it's bent. I can see that, Jeff Berliner. It goes like, and I probably fixed it to the degree that it can make a line. Look at that line it makes. Do I have to zoom in here? Springy, boing, boing, boing. Has this pretty fast return that I like. Railroading, don't worry about it. It's because I'm just dipping it. And I dipped it an hour ago. Why I pulled that out, I don't know, but I did. I didn't mean to do that. So where's this going to go? This will go in with those. I'll just go back in my Waterman drawer where it was. 34 minutes. I watched a video of Peter Draws yesterday where he was talking about a pen he paid $800 for. And for me, if I had $800 to spend, I would go to a pen show and I would try to find as many pens that I could that are, where's the one that, like this, that has a missing clip and has a bent nib, but I can maybe use my crystal ball and make sure that I can fix it. And maybe I could buy a pen like this with a bent nib and a missing clip. Maybe I could buy it for $30 at a pen show, unrepaired. And maybe I could buy it for even less than that. But oftentimes when pens are less than $30 for a pen that has a gold nib in it, it usually means you have to buy the whole baggie of 10 pens for $300 to be able to get that one nib you want. So a gold nib at a pen show is going to be $30, regardless of how well it writes. But if this was in someone's pen collection at a pen show, because of the flaw, the missing clip, they're going to have it in a box, a shoe box that has all sorts of broken things that are missing. That's where I like to go. I like to go to those boxes, and I'm always hoping I can find a nice nib, because that's often all I need. I don't need the cap, I don't need the barrel. I just, I'm happy to get them, but I don't need them. So I'm looking for nibs. So if I was at a pen show and I had $800, I might spend $800 on one pen, and I spent $3,000 on one pen once upon a time. Crazy me. And but I would buy pens that have really, really cool nibs. Maybe a fine firm one, maybe a stub nib, maybe a flexible nib, maybe a springy nib, maybe a whatever nib. And I think I could probably, for $800, find 10 actually nice pens that would be $80 a piece. I could find 10 $80 pens, or I could probably find 20 $40 pens. Now the $40 pens might be pens that are missing a clip, might be pens that are ladies' pens, might be pens that have a bend in it, like this one. But chances are, if you look hard enough, you're going to find one that has a nib like this, in a pen that has a ding in it like that, and you can buy for $40, maybe. This one might be $40 at a pen show. It's missing its little ring. It has a name on it. It has a dent in it. If it had a ring and didn't have a dent and had a name or no name, then it would be $80 or even more. And if it had a nib like this, and the seller knew it had a nib like this, they could convince the person that wants to buy it to pay another $20 extra for this nib. And they might say, well, that person over here has that exact same pen for $50. And you say, well, then go buy it. Oh, it doesn't have a nice nib. Oh. Okay. I'm going to let you do the math on that one. Yeah, you want a pen that has a nice nib? Oftentimes, you might be lucky. Or if pen dealers know the nibs they've got, they will charge extra for a nib that is really, really cool. This nib is a nib, if this nib were in this pen, it might be less, but this nib is actually really kind of neat. I'm really fond of these fine nibs that have only I mean, I've just showed you a bunch of them. This is like that. And there's a place in the world for this kind of nib. What do you think? Am I making any sense whatsoever? Sigh. Goodbye.